It was one of those rainy
You look
afternoons
so
where the world
handsome
feels just a
today.
little heavier
Are
than
you ready
usual.
for the big surprise?
I had ducked into a small coffee shop to escape the downpour, hoping a hot drink could warm more than just my hands. That's when I saw her, sitting alone at a corner table, scribbling in a notebook, her brow furrowed like she was carrying the weight of the world. There was something about the way she sighed, almost silently, that made me pause. I didn't know her, not really. But in that moment, I wanted to make her smile. So, on a whim, I walked over and blurted out, "I'll pretend to be your boyfriend." She looked up at me, eyes narrowing as if she were about to dismiss me entirely, and then unexpectedly, she smiled. "We'll need practice," she said softly. "No one will buy it." Before we dive into the story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you love heartwarming stories. Don't forget to leave a comment sharing a time someone's kindness changed your day. Welcome to MS Stories, where we share stories that touch the heart and remind us all that a little kindness goes a long way. It all started as a joke, I admit. I didn't think much would come from it, but there was something about the way she said those words, "we'll need practice," that made me curious. There was a hint of loneliness in her voice, a quiet plea for connection, even if disguised as sarcasm. Her name was Emma. She worked at a small publishing company, and her life, she admitted, had been a series of exhausting routines. Every day was filled with deadlines, phone calls, and meetings where no one really noticed her. She was brilliant, funny, and kind, yet somehow invisible in a world that often overlooked people like her. I found myself returning to that coffee shop more often, sometimes just to see her. And every time, we'd exchange jokes, small gestures, and a growing sense of trust. The pretend boyfriend bit became our running joke. We'd sit together, her head resting on my shoulder, acting out silly scenarios for the sake of amusement. The world outside that little coffee shop didn't matter. For an hour or two, we built a bubble of laughter and comfort that neither of us wanted to leave. One rainy Tuesday, she confessed something that stopped me in my tracks. "I don't really remember the last time someone did something for me just because they wanted to, make me happy," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I realized then that what had started as a joke had become something much deeper. The laughter was a mask for a longing we both felt, the need to feel seen, to feel cared for, to feel human in a world that often rushes by too fast. So, I decided to take a small step. One day, I arrived at the coffee shop with a small bouquet of daisies. Not roses, not something extravagant, just daisies. Simple, cheerful, and honest. I placed them on her table before she arrived and stepped back. When she walked in and saw them, her eyes widened. She looked around, then up at me, and the corners of her lips quivered with a smile that seemed too big for her face. "You didn't have to," she whispered, voice trembling. "I wanted to," I said. "That day, Emma told me something I'll never forget. You've reminded me that kindness doesn't need a reason. It doesn't need a holiday or a special occasion. Sometimes, it's just a person noticing you." And that was the moment I realized the real power of kindness. It wasn't the flowers, or the coffee, or even the pretending. It was the act of showing someone they mattered, of slowing down long enough to notice their existence in a world that often ignored it. From that point on, our friendship, or perhaps something more, grew in ways neither of us expected. We started volunteering together at local shelters, delivering meals to families in need, and helping out at community events. Each act of kindness wasn't about recognition, it was about the ripple effect. One small gesture turned into another, and we began to see the invisible threads connecting people through simple acts of compassion. One day, as we were walking through a crowded farmer's market, a little boy dropped his toy car. Without thinking, Emma bent down and handed it back to him, smiling warmly. The boy's mother looked at us with gratitude, and in that instant, it hit me: kindness doesn't just change the person receiving it, it transforms the person giving it too. Every small gesture makes the world a little brighter, a little warmer. Over time, the pretend boyfriend joke faded. What remained was something genuine, something real. We weren't pretending anymore. Our bond had been built on laughter, shared secrets, and countless small acts of kindness. And in a world that often feels rushed and selfish, we had found something rare, a connection forged through care, empathy, and attention to each other's humanity. There was a turning point one summer evening. We were sitting on a park bench, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Emma turned to me, her eyes glistening with tears. "Do you realize what you've done?" she asked softly. "You've reminded me that the world can be kind. That people can care, even when they have nothing to gain. I laughed softly, shaking my head. I didn't do anything special. I just noticed you. She smiled, leaning her head against my shoulder. That's enough. That's more than enough. It struck me then how often we overlook the power of simple gestures. Holding the door open, sending a thoughtful message, offering a seat, or even just noticing someone who seems invisible, these small acts can create a ripple that changes lives. In Emma's case, it changed her world, and in turn, it changed mine. Months later, we organized a community kindness event at the local library. Volunteers came from all walks of life to donate food, books, and clothing to families in need. Emma and I coordinated the effort, and as we watched people help one another, I realized something profound: kindness is contagious. It spreads silently, like sunlight breaking through clouds, touching everyone it falls upon. And through all of it, I thought back to that rainy afternoon in the coffee shop, when I jokingly offered to be her boyfriend. Who would have thought that a light-hearted, silly comment could lead to something so meaningful? It reminded me that even small, seemingly trivial gestures can be the beginning of something extraordinary. Emma and I never stopped finding ways to make life brighter for each other and those around us. And it all started with noticing someone, offering a small gesture, and treating them with care. Kindness doesn't need grand gestures, it thrives in the quiet moments, the smiles, the words, and the little surprises that tell someone you matter. So, next time you see someone carrying a heavy load, whether visible or invisible, pause. Smile. Offer your hand or your time. It might just change their life, and yours too, because in the end, kindness isn't just an action, it's a way of seeing the world. And when we practice it, we create a ripple effect that can transform hearts, build connections, and make life feel a little lighter, a little warmer, and infinitely more human.